Yeah. 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 There are moments when a single word changes everything. Not a speech, not a confession, just one word said differently. I don't remember exactly when it happened. The room was half empty. Music low, lights off, the kind of place people go when they don't want the night to end. You were sitting across from each other, talking about nothing important. Work, friends, random stories from the week. But something about the way you looked at me made the moment feel heavier, like the air between us was waiting for something. And you said my name just casually in the middle of a sentence, but the way you said it changed everything and sounded closer, warmer, like it belonged in your voice. And suddenly the world felt quieter. I smiled, pretending I didn't notice, but my heart definitely did. Because the strange thing about love is that it rarely arrives with an announcement. It sneaks in through small details. The way someone laughs, the way someone pauses, the way someone looks at you when they think you aren't looking. After that night, everything shifted. Messages arrived more often, conversations lasted longer. And somehow every time he said my name, it sounded the same way, different, like it meant something. Like it meant something. The night we walked together, the streets almost empty, street lights spilling gold across the road. You walked beside me close, not touching but close enough that I could hear your breathing. Between words you were telling a story, something funny, but halfway through you stopped, looking at me carefully, like you were thinking about saying something real. The silence between us stretched, not uncomfortable, just honest. My heartbeat changed, not panic, just recognition, because I knew what this moment was becoming. You asked, do you ever feel like something is happening and nobody has said it yet? I laughed softly because the answer was obvious. Every conversation we shared, every late message, every quiet look had been building this moment. But love is strange, even when two people know they still hesitate. Maybe because saying the truth makes it real. So we stood there, both understanding, both pretending. The night was ordinary, yeah. The city continued moving, cars passing, lights changing, music drifting from distant bars. But inside that small silence between us, everything had already changed. You said my name again, soft, careful, like you knew exactly what it meant. And in that moment I realized some confessions don't need words, they live inside the way someone says your name. Like it matters more than any sentence they could ever speak. I didn't notice the moment it started. No sudden spark, no dramatic scene, just a quiet shift working around people long enough. You begin to notice that some feelings grow while you're busy thinking about other things. The first time we walked together, it was late. The streets were calm, streetlights stretching down the road like small suns floating above us. You were telling a story about something random, work, a bad cup of coffee, something you read that morning. But I wasn't really listening, not to the words, I was listening to your voice, low, easy. The way you move without trying, like a song that already knows its rhythm. I remember thinking if I stay quiet long enough, maybe this moment will stretch just a little longer. Days passed and weeks, and somehow you kept appearing in my routine, in small messages and late night conversations, and songs that suddenly felt written for us. Friends asked why I looked different, why I kept smiling for no reason. I said nothing because the truth was simple. I was beginning to care more than I planned. The night we stayed out late talking again, the air cool, the city half asleep. We sat on the steps outside the station, watching people pass your shoulder close to mine, not touching, just close enough that the distance felt fragile. You spoke more softly than usual about things you rarely say. Dream things you haven't told anyone, fears you pretend don't exist, and somewhere between those words I realize love doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it grows inside quiet honesty, the way someone trusts you with their thoughts, the way someone looks at you when they forget to hide it. You stop talking for a moment, just watching the empty street. Then you looked at me carefully, like you were trying to read something I hadn't said. My heart started moving faster, not panic, just awareness, like standing near the edge of something important. And suddenly the silence between us felt full, not awkward, not uncertain, just waiting for one word or maybe one step. But neither of us moved, because sometimes the most honest moments happen before anyone speaks. Later that night when I walked home, music sounded different. Every love song felt clearer, every lyric felt possible. And I realized I wasn't wondering if I liked you, I was wondering when I started. The next time you smiled, that quiet feeling returned, stronger, warmer, like something inside me had already decided. Maybe you're still thinking, still measuring, still asking yourself if this is real. But me, I already know, because every look you give, every late message, every moment you stay just a little longer, girl, feels like proof that we're standing closer than either of us planned. And where love really is a fall, then we're already close enough to let it happen, close enough to stop pretending, close enough to finally admit that something between us has been growing all this time. Some feelings don't wait for permission, they grow quietly until one day you realize they were always there. Working around people long enough, you start to notice which moments disappear and which ones stay. The first time we spent time alone, nothing unusual, just two people talking. Late evening music playing softly. In the background you were telling a story about a place you wanted to visit. Something about the way you described it made the world feel larger, like possibilities were suddenly real. But what stayed with me wasn't the story, it was the way you looked at me between sentences, like you were checking whether I understood. And I did more than you knew. I remember thinking, this moment feels different, not exciting, not dramatic, just important. At first I ignored it, because emotions like that are easier to deny. But days passed and somehow you kept returning in my thoughts, during quiet mornings, during long walks, during songs that suddenly felt personal. Friends noticed, they asked what changed. I smiled, pretending nothing had, but inside something had. Every laugh we shared, every long message late at night, every moment we stayed just a little longer, made the feeling grow. The night we walked together after everything closed, the streets empty, street lights painting soft gold across the road. You walked beside me, close, not touching, but close enough that the air between us felt alive. You talked about things you rarely say, dreams that still feel uncertain, plans that might change, fears you usually hide. And listening to you, I realize love doesn't begin with excitement, it begins with trust. Someone lets their thoughts exist freely without worrying about judgment. At one point you stopped walking, looking out at the city lights stretching across the horizon. Then slowly you turned toward me, and the silence between us changed. Not awkward, not nervous, just full, like a moment waiting. My heartbeat shifted, not panic, just clarity, because suddenly the truth felt obvious. I wasn't wondering whether I liked you, I was wondering when it started, when the small talks became something deeper, when the ordinary became meaningful, when your voice started sounding like comfort. Maybe you still haven't said it, maybe the words are still waiting. hesitation and courage, but the truth is already here. Every time you look at me, every time you smile, arrive slowly. Every time you stay just a little longer than necessary. The distance between us feels smaller, not dramatic, not overwhelming, just certain. Because love doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it simply grows until two people stand close enough to understand without speaking. And now every moment we share is nothing closer than a confession, and holds than the words either of us so we to say. Sometimes it simply grows until two people stand close enough to understand without speaking. Every moment we share feels like standing closer than a confession, closer than the words either of us are ready to say, but somehow still comfortably understood. Some voices stay with you, not because they are loud, but because they carry something deeper. Working around people long enough, you begin noticing which voices feel ordinary and which ones change the room. The first time you spoke to me, it wasn't dramatic, just a simple question, something about the music playing. But the way your voice moved, slow, low, calm, made the moment linger longer than it should. I remember thinking, there's something different here. Not exciting, not overwhelming, just something quiet and steady, like the beginning of a song that hasn't revealed its melody yet. At first I ignored it, cause feelings like that can be dangerous. They grow even when you don't invite them. Days pass and somehow you kept appearing in conversations that lasted too long, and messages sent too late, in songs that suddenly felt more personal. Friends ask, why do you smile like that lately? I shrugged, pretending nothing had changed, but inside something had every laugh we shared, every small pause between words, every moment I spent. Added weight to a feeling I never run. Added weight to a feeling I didn't want to admit. That night we walked together, after everything had closed, the city half asleep, street lights glowing above quiet roads. The air cool, the sky deep blue. You were talking about something small, a random story, but I wasn't really listening. Not to the words, I was listening to your voice. How it softened when you spoke my name, how it slowed when you searched for the right word, and suddenly the realization arrived. Not loudly, just clearly. Love doesn't always start with a spark. Sometimes it starts with gravity, the way someone's presence pulls your fish, and without effort you stop walking for a moment, looking at the skyline, light stretching across the distance. Then you turn toward me, and the silence between us changed. Not awkward, not uncertain, just full like the moment before music begins. My heartbeat shifted, not panic, just awareness, because I realized this feeling was already real. Not something I was imagining, not something I could ignore. Every day you had been moving closer, without trying, without planning, just naturally, like gravity. And the strange thing was that it didn't scare me, because every time you smiled, every time your voice softened, every time the world felt calmer when you were near, the same thought returned again and again. Maybe you were still wondering, still measuring this moment, still asking whether this is worth the risk. But me, I stopped asking that question, because your voice already answered it. The way it moves, the way it pauses, the way it says my name, like it belongs in the same sentence as yours. And now every time I hear you speak, the same feeling returns, to notice they changed everything. Working around people long enough, you begin to understand that love barely arrives like a storm. It arrives quietly the first time you walk beside me. The conversation was simple. Work stories, bad coffee, random thoughts about music. Nothing important, but something about the way you spoke made the moment feel different. You listened, not politely but fully, like every word was worth hearing. And that feeling stayed with me long after the night ended. At first I told myself it meant nothing, just a good conversation, just an interesting person. But the next time we met, the same calm feeling returned. Then again, and until suddenly you weren't just someone I knew. You were someone I look forward to seeing. Days started changing shape, music sounded more alive. Morning walks felt brighter, and sometimes for no reason your name would appear in my thoughts. Friends ask what's going on with you lately. I laugh pretending not to understand, but inside I already knew. Something inside me was beginning to move. The night we stayed out late, the city was nearly quiet. Street lights glowing soft above empty roads. A cool breeze moving through the streets. We walked slowly talking about small things, dreams, old memories, plans that still felt unfinished. Your voice low, warm, the kind of voice that settles somewhere deep in your memory. At one point you stopped walking, just looking at the skyline, the city lights stretching far away. Then you turned toward me, not quickly, not shyly, just honestly. And the silence between us changed, not awkward, not uncertain, just full like a moment waiting. My heartbeat shifted, not panic, not confusion, just recognition. Because suddenly I understood this feeling wasn't new. It had been growing quietly through every conversation, every late message, every smile you gave. And the strange part was that it didn't scare me. Falling usually sounds dangerous, like losing control, like stepping into something unknown. But this didn't feel like that. This felt natural, like gravity, like the way water moves without effort. Every laugh we shared, every quiet look, every time your hand moved close to mine made the same truth clearer. I wasn't standing at the edge, I was already moving, already drifting, already falling without warning. Maybe you are still wondering, still thinking, still measuring whether this feeling should grow, whether timing is right, whether we should slow down. But me, I stopped asking, because every moment with you feels like proof that something real has already started. And if one day you finally ask what this means, I'll probably smile, because the answer has been here from the beginning. Quiet, patient, waiting for us to notice that we were falling. All is to notice. It didn't happen suddenly, no dramatic moment, no fireworks, no perfect movie scene. Just a quiet realization, working around people long enough, you begin to notice when someone slowly becomes part of your rhythm. At first you were simply another voice, another conversation, another face in a crowded week. But something about the way you listen stayed with me. Not the loud kind of attention, the calm kind, the kind that makes you feel like the room just became smaller. The first time we sat together, you asked a question, simple but real, not the usual surface conversation. You asked what I actually wanted from life, from work, from everything I was chasing. And suddenly the answer didn't feel as complicated, because you were really listening, not waiting to speak, just listening. That moment followed me for days. Every song I played, every quiet walk, every night before sleep, your voice kept returning low, warm, the kind of voice that settles inside memory. Friends noticed something different, they said you look calmer, you laugh more. I brushed it off, but I knew something inside me was changing. The night we stayed out late, the city half asleep, street lights glowing soft above empty roads. We walked slowly, no rush, no destination, just movement. Your shoulder close to mine, not touching but close enough that the air between us felt alive. You talked about things you rarely tell people, dreams that felt too big, mistakes you still remember. And the honesty made the moment stronger, because love doesn't always start with excitement. Sometimes it begins with trust, the way someone lets their guard down without asking for anything back. At one point you stop walking, just looking at the skyline, light stretching across the horizon. Then you look back at me, and the silence between us changed. Not awkward, not nervous, just quiet, like something waiting. My heart started beating a little faster, not fear, just awareness, because I realized the distance between us was no longer just space, it was possibility. You smiled, soft, almost careful, like you were thinking the same thought I was trying not to say. And suddenly the truth felt obvious. I wasn't standing at the edge of something, I was already inside it, already feeling the quiet gravity of your presence, already noticing how easily my world moved around you. The next time I heard your voice, my chest felt lighter. The next time you said my name, something inside me answered without hesitation. Maybe you are still deciding, still wondering if this feeling will stay, if this moment means more than it appears. But me, I stopped asking those questions, because every day, every laugh, every late night conversation, every quiet look feels like proof that love doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it grows quietly until one day you realize you're already in the deep, already moving closer, already falling without ever turning, afraid and steady. That's the moment when everything finally feels right. Oh, I think I knew before you did, before the pause between our words started feeling different. Working around people long enough, you'll begin noticing when the moment means more than it pretends to. The first time you said my name, you said it casually like any other word, but something about the way your voice held it made the room feel smaller, like the distance between us was slowly shrinking. I told myself, don't overthink it, don't imagine something that isn't real. But the strange thing about quiet feelings is that they grow without asking, without warning. Days passed and somehow you kept appearing in ordinary places, at the cafe near the station, in a message late at night, in a song that suddenly felt personal. I started noticing how easily you made me laugh, how the world felt softer when you were near, and how silence between us never felt empty. Friends asked, why are you smiling for no reason? I shrugged, pretending not to understand, but I knew because something inside me had already begun to move. The night we stayed out late, the streets were nearly empty, street lights glowing above quiet roads, the air cool, the sky deep blue. You leaned against the railing watching the city, talking slowly like time wasn't important. Your voice lower, gentler than usual. You told me about things you rarely say, dreams, unfinished plans, small fears hidden behind confidence. And the more you spoke, the more I realized love doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it begins with understanding, the way someone thinks, the way someone pauses before finishing a sentence, the way someone looks at you when they forget to hide it. Then you look straight at me for a second, longer than usual, and the quiet between us changed. Not awkward, not uncertain, just full like music, waiting for the chorus. I could feel my heartbeat matching that silence, and suddenly everything felt clear. Not dramatic, not overwhelming, just certain. The kind of certainty that doesn't ask for permission, the kind that grows slowly until one day you realize it has already taken over. I tried to stay careful, to move slowly, to keep my thoughts calm, number. But every smile you gave, every quiet look, every moment our hands almost touched made the same truth return again and again and again. I'm already ready, already standing closer than I planned. And maybe you're still deciding, maybe you're still thinking about time and about risk, about what this might become. But me, I stop waiting, because every word you say, every look you give, every quiet night we talk too long feels like proof that this feeling didn't start today. It started earlier, before the silence, before the long talks, before you even asked. And if one day you finally say the words you've been holding, I won't be surprised, because my heart has already made the decision long before you ever knew. I was ready, yeah. Sometimes love doesn't begin with a spark, it begins with gravity working around feelings long enough. You start to notice certain people pull you closer without effort, without noise. The first time we walked together, the street was almost empty. Street lights glowing, soft glow, the city moving slowly. You were telling a story, something simple, something ordinary. But the way you looked at me between sentences made the moment feel heavier, like the world was leaning toward us. I told myself not to think too much, not to imagine what might not exist. But the problem with quiet emotions is that they grow silently. Every day after that, you appeared in unexpected places. A song, a memory, a small thought during the afternoon. Your voice slow, soft, the kind of voice that stays long after the conversation ends. Friends ask why I seem distracted, why my playlist changed, why certain lyrics suddenly meant more. I laugh pretending I didn't know, but I did, because something inside me had already shifted. The night we stayed outside talking again, the air was cool, a slow breeze moving through the street. Leaned against the railing, watching the skyline, and for a moment we both stopped speaking. Not awkward, just quiet, the kind of silence that feels comfortable. You looked at me carefully, like someone studying a moment before deciding what it means. And in that pause, my heart changed direction. I suddenly, just gradually, like gravity, pulling something closer without permission, without warning. I remember thinking, if I fall now, there will be no turning back. But strangely, that thought didn't scare me, because love, when it arrives like this, doesn't feel dangerous. It feels inevitable. Every laugh we shared, every quiet look, every time your hand rested near mine, the feeling kept deepening, like water getting darker the deeper you go. And now every moment with you feels like standing at the edge of something beautiful. Maybe you are still wondering if this is real, if the feeling will stay, if the timing is right. But me, I stopped asking those questions, 'cause every time you say my name, every time your voice softens, every time the world slows when we're together, the same truth returns again and again and again and again. Love is not always lightning. Sometimes it's velvet, soft, quiet, but powerful enough to pull two hearts closer until distance no longer exists. And when I look at you now, standing beside me under city lights, I know this feeling was never an accident. It was gravity waiting for the right moment to bring us here. Some feelings don't arrive suddenly. They appear like gravity, quiet, constant, unavoidable. Working around people long enough, you learn not every connection starts loudly. Some begin with a small shift in the air. The first time you walked beside me, we weren't even talking about love, just ordinary things. Music, food, a random memory from years ago. But the way you listened made every word feel important, like the night had slowed down just to hear us. I remember thinking, maybe it's nothing, maybe it's just good conversation, maybe it's just a moment. But moments have a strange way of repeating. The next time I saw you, the same feeling returned. And the time after that, and the time after that, until suddenly you were everywhere. In the songs I played, in the thoughts I carried, in the quiet space between breaths. Friends said you're different lately. I laughed, pretending I didn't understand, but the truth was simple. My heart had started moving around you like a planet finding its orbit. The night we stayed out late talking again. The city was glowing softly, streetlights painting golden lines across the road. The sky deep blue, almost black. Your voice low, warm, the kind of voice that feels like home. You told me about things you rarely say. Dreams, doubt, small fears people hide behind confidence. And the more you spoke, the more I realized love isn't always fireworks. Sometimes it's understanding the way someone thinks, the way someone paused before finishing a sentence. And when you looked at me for a moment longer than usual, the silence between us changed. It wasn't awkward, it wasn't uncertain, it was full like music just before the chorus begins. I could feel my heartbeat matching the rhythm of that quiet, and suddenly everything felt clear. Not dramatic, not overwhelming, just certain. The kind of certainty that doesn't need permission or explanation, the kind that grows slowly until one day you realize it has already taken root. I tried telling myself to be careful, to move slowly, to think clearly, but every time you smiled, every time your hand brushed mine, every time your voice softened when you said my name, the same thought returned again and again and again. I'm already falling, already moving, already drifting closer than I expected. And maybe you're still wondering if this feeling is real, if the moment will last, if we should be careful. But me, I stopped fighting gravity a long time ago, because every look you give, every quiet laugh, every night we talk too long feels like proof that this right here is not an accident. It's motion, it's orbit, it's two hearts slowly, naturally finding the same center. And I feel love, and I feel love, babe. Before the noticed, before the silence between us started feeling warm, working around people you learn. Some feelings arrive slowly, others appear instantly, like a quiet certainty. The first time I saw you, you were talking about something simple, nothing dramatic, nothing poetic, but the way your voice moved, the way you paused between sentences and made the moment stay longer than it should. I told myself it was nothing, just curiosity, just attention, just a passing thought. But nights kept changing whenever you appeared. Rooms felt lighter, conversations felt easier, music sudden clearer, and suddenly your name started living in places I never planned. My playlist, my morning walks, the quiet moment before sleep. People talk about falling like it's sudden, like gravity, but this was different. This felt like standing at the edge of water, knowing you're already ready to jump. The first time we stayed up, talking too late. The city outside had already slow, streetlights painting soft lines across the window. Your laughter soft, low, unexpected, like a melody finding its rhythm. I remember thinking if this moment ended right now, it would still be enough. But the night didn't end, and neither did the feeling. Because somewhere between small jokes and long pauses, something shifted. You looked at me the way people do when they're deciding whether honesty is safe. And I realized my heart had already moved closer than my words. I tried pretending nothing had changed, but music betrayed me. Every love song suddenly made sense. Every lyric felt personal, and every silence between us started sounding like possibility. Friends would ask why I was smiling, and nothing why I kept checking my phone. Why certain nights felt brighter, I never answered. Because some emotions are too fragile to explain. They only exist when they're felt, not described. And then one evening you stood closer than usual, not touching, just near enough that the air between us changed temperature. Your voice softer, your words slower, like you knew the same thing I was trying not to say. That moment was quiet. No fireworks, no dramatic music, just a simple realization that falling doesn't feel like falling. It feels like arriving somewhere you've been walking toward without knowing. And now every time you look at me, I feel the same thought returning like a chorus. I'm already ready, I'm already standing at the edge of something beautiful. And maybe you're still wondering whether the water is deep enough, whether the fall is safe, whether the feeling is real. But me, I stopped asking those questions a long time ago. Because every word you say, every small smile, every quiet moment between us feels like we went. That this is exactly where I'm meant to die. Some nights don't end the way they can. Some nights change direction quietly without warning. The night we almost said it started like any other simple message. Are you still awake? I would, of course, because lately sleep had become difficult. Not from stress, not from work, but from the way my thoughts kept returning to you. We met at the small cafe near the station, the one that stays open too late. The lights inside soft, the music slow. People speaking in quiet voices like everyone there was holding their own secret. You were already sitting, looking out the window, watching the street. When I walked in, you smiled, that same smile that always made the room feel warmer. We talked for hours about everything and nothing. Music, old memories, places we wanted to travel, stories that made us laugh. But beneath every sentence there was another conversation, one we hadn't spoken yet. Eventually the cafe closed, so we walk outside. The night air cool, the streets almost empty, street lights spilling pale gold across the pavement. We walked slowly, neither of us in a hurry, because both of us knew the moment was approaching. The kind of moment you could feel before it happens. You stop near the corner looking up at the buildings, their windows glowing like distant stars. Then you turn toward me, your expression different, less playful, more real. My heartbeat shifted, not fear, just recognition. Because suddenly the quiet between us was loud, and anything we had said, you spoke first, soft, careful. Do you ever feel like something has been growing between two people for a long time before anyone admits it? I smiled because the truth was obvious. Every conversation, every message, every late night call, every glance we tried to ignore had been building this moment. Love rarely appears all at once. It grows in small moments until suddenly two people stand close enough to feel it. You step closer, not dramatically, just enough that the distance between us almost disappeared. The city kept moving, cars passing, lights changing, music drifting from a bar down the street. But standing there under the quiet street light, the world felt pause. Your voice lower now, almost a whisper, like you were standing on the edge of the truth. I could see it in your eyes, the hesitation, the courage, the moment right before the words. And strangely, I didn't want to rush it, because sometimes the seconds before a confession are the most honest part, the part where two hearts already understand without speaking. So we stayed there in that silence, 2 seconds for everything changed. And somehow that silence said more than any confession ever could. everything feels unfinished, like a sentence waiting for its final word. The night we stayed out longer than planned. Started simply, dinner, a few drinks, a conversation that kept stretching. Every time we tried to leave, you would say one more thing, and suddenly another hour had passed. The city outside slowly grew quieter, shops closing, music fading, street lights becoming brighter. Against the empty roads we stepped outside, the air cool, almost silent. You looked up at the sky, then laughed. Somehow this night refuses to end. I smile because I didn't want it to. There are nights where nothing important happens, and then there are nights where something changes. Just without warning, we started walking, no direction, just movement through quiet streets. Your voice softer now, less playful, more thoughtful. You talked about dreams, plans, the strange way life moves when you stop trying to control it. But halfway through the sentence, you stopped looking at me carefully, like you were trying to understand something you hadn't said. The silence between us was different, not awkward, not uncertain, just full like music, waiting for the next note. My heartbeat shifting, not fear, just awareness. Because suddenly the truth was impossible to ignore. Every message we had sent, every conversation that lasted too long, every moment we stayed just a little longer. Have been building this, you step closer, not dramatically, just enough that the distance between us felt fragile. Your voice slower now, almost quiet. Do you ever feel like something is about to happen, but you don't wanna rush it? I laugh softly cause that feeling was exactly what I was holding. Love is strange. Sometimes two people reach the same moment at the same time, and both hesitate, not from fear but from respect for the moment. The city kept moving, cars passing, traffic lights changing, music drifting from somewhere far away. But standing there under the pale glow of street lights, everything felt still. You looked at me like you were waiting, not for an answer but for confirmation that this moment was real. And I realized something important. This wasn't the beginning, the beginning happened earlier in small conversations and quiet messages, in the way we noticed each other without speaking. This was a moment right before the answer, the moment where two people already know what comes next, but stay in the silence just a little longer. Because sometimes the space before the confession is the most beautiful part of the story. And standing here beside you, I know that when the words finally come, they won't surprise me, because my heart has already heard them, waiting inside the quiet of this night, of this night. He heard them, waiting. Some feelings don't arrive politely, they appear slowly, then suddenly they're everywhere. Realize that about you. On a random night, nothing special, no celebration, no dramatic moment, just the two of us walking through streets that were almost empty. The city had quieted down, shops closed, lights dim, the air cool and calm. You were talking about something small, a new song. You're like a place you wanted to visit, but the way you spoke was different, slower, like your thoughts were somewhere else. Then you asked, do you ever feel like something is happening? But no one has admitted it yet. I laugh because the answer was obvious. Every conversation we had, every late message, every moment we stayed just a little longer, have been building this feeling. But love has strange timing. Sometimes two people know at the same moment and still pretend they don't, because saying it makes it real. You walked ahead for a second, looking up at the buildings, the lights reflecting in the windows. Then you turned toward me, your expression different, not playful, not casual, just honest. My heartbeat shifting, not panic, just clarity. Because suddenly the distance between us felt smaller, like something had already changed. You said my name, soft careful like you were testing whether the moment was ready, and in a second I understood. This wasn't just curiosity, this wasn't just attraction, this was the moment where something starts. You looked at the street, then back at me, almost smiling. Maybe I'm overthinking it. You said, but your voice didn't sound unsure, it sounded hopeful. I took a step closer, not dramatically, just enough. Let the silence between us change. The city kept moving, cars passing, traffic lights shifting, music drifting from a distant bar. But inside that quiet space between us, the world had slowed. I realized love doesn't always begin with a confession. Sometimes it begins with recognition. Two people standing close enough to feel that something has already happened. Even if the words haven't arrived yet, you looked at me again like you were waiting for confirmation, for courage, for something. So I smiled, cause the truth didn't feel complicated, it felt simple. This moment wasn't an accident. Every conversation, every message, every late night had been moving us here. Maybe tomorrow you'll say, maybe next week we'll pretend this night was nothing special. But right now, standing under the quiet lights of the city, I know something real is already forming. When the time finally comes, when the words stop hesitating, when the moment stops waiting, you won't need to ask, because my heart will already know exactly when the answer, when you call and say it's real. Yeah. There are moments where silence feels more honest than words. Working around people long enough, you learn that love rarely starts with a sentence. It starts with hesitation. The night we ended up on a rooftop was completely unexpected. A friend's party, too many people, too much noise. So we stepped outside, looking for quiet, the air cool, the city lights stretching across the skyline. You leaned against the railing, watching the streets below, cars moving slowly like small pieces of light. Across the dark we talked about everything and nothing worked. Music, places we wanted to visit, stories that made us laugh. But something about the moment felt heavier, like the night was holding its breath. Every time you looked at me, you paused just for a second, like you were deciding whether to say something real. I noticed, but I didn't ask, because sometimes the moment before truth is the most beautiful part. Yeah. You said my name soft, almost careful, like the sound itself might reveal too much. Then you laughed, shaking your head like you were arguing with yourself. Do you ever feel like you're about to say something that might change everything? Your voice lower now, less playful, more honest. I looked at the skyline, trying to slow my heartbeat, because the answer was obvious. Every conversation we had, every message sent late at night, every quiet moment where we noticed each other had been building toward this. But love is strange, even when two people know they hesitate, because once the words exist, there's no way to pretend nothing happened. You stepped closer, just slightly, your shoulder almost touching mine. The distance between us felt fragile, like one movement could break it. The city kept moving, music drifted from the party behind us. Someone laughing, glasses clinking, but the world in front of us had slowed. You looked at me carefully, like you were studying a moment before before deciding what it meant. And I realized something important, this feeling didn't start tonight. It started earlier in every small moment we shared, in every glance, in every quiet pause between sentences. Your voice almost whispered, maybe we shouldn't say it yet. And strangely that made sense, because sometimes love grows in the space before the confession, in the tension between knowing and admitting. So we stayed there, standing close, not touching, not speaking, just listening to the quiet rhythm inside our chests. And in that silence I understood the truth didn't need to be spoken, not yet, because some feelings become real long before anyone finds the courage to say them out loud. There's signals before anything actually begins. Small ones, easy to ignore, easy to explain away, but once you notice them, they appear everywhere. I remember the first time I felt it, not a confession, not a moment anyone would write in a song, just a quiet change. We were standing outside a small cafe, the night cool, the street half empty, people passing. Without looking, you were talking about something simple, a new place you wanted to try, some music you discovered, but the way you kept looking at me between sentences made the moment feel heavier, like the air between us was carrying a question. I told myself, don't imagine too much, don't turn a normal moment into something it isn't. But the strange thing about feelings is that they repeat. The next time we met, the same signal returned, the next conversation, the same pause, the next laugh, the same warmth, until suddenly it stopped feeling random and started feeling real. Friends noticed, they asked, why do you see somewhere else lately? I smiled, pretending not to understand, but the truth was simple. My thoughts kept returning to you, the way you laugh, the way your voice drops slower when the room gets quiet, the way you say my name like it already belongs in your day. The night, everything shifted. We were walking, no destination, just following the quiet streets. Streetlights glowing above empty roads. Stay calm like it was waiting for something. You stopped near the corner, looking out toward the river, lights reflecting in the water, and you asked, do you ever feel like something is building, even before anyone says it? Your voice soft, not joking, not casual, just honest. I didn't answer right away because the answer was already obvious. Every message we sent, every moment we stayed just a little longer, every quiet plans had been building this feeling, but love has a strange way of waiting, even when two people know they hesitate, because speaking the truth changes everything. You step closer, not dramatically, just enough that I could hear your breathing. Between the quiet, my heartbeat shifted, not fear, just clarity. You could suddenly, the distance between us felt smaller, not physically, something deeper, like the moment had finally arrived. We stood there, both understanding, both pretending not to listen into the quiet rhythm of the night. The city kept moving, cars passing, lights changing, music drifting from somewhere far away. But inside that silence between us, something real was already forming. Maybe tomorrow one of us will say it. Maybe next week we'll laugh about this moment. But standing here under the quiet lights of the city, I know this feeling didn't begin tonight. It began earlier in small signals and quiet pauses, in the way your voice changes when you say my name. And now, even without the words, the truth is already here, waiting, like a call that both of us know is about to arrive. Some nights change direction before anyone realizes, before anyone decides, before anyone admits. but come, I remember the night we kept walking, even though we both knew the trains had already stopped. The city was quieter than usual. Street lights spilling pale light across empty roads. You were telling me something small, a story about your day, but your voice moved slower like your thoughts were somewhere else. Then you laughed soft and said, why does tonight feel different? I smiled because I had been wondering the same thing. There are moments when the world starts rearranging without asking. You kept walking, hands in your pockets, looking up at the buildings like the skyline might answer something. I watched you, not obviously, just quietly trying to understand when the feeling started. Maybe it was the first conversation, maybe it was the first late message, maybe it was the moment you said my name like you meant it. But somewhere between those memories, something changed. You stopped at the corner, you avoided the light that never turned green. Then you looked at me carefully, like you were measuring a distance, not physical, something else. The silence between us wasn't empty, it was full of questions, of curiosity, of something neither of us had named yet. My heartbeat shifted, not fear, just awareness, because suddenly the truth was obvious. This moment wasn't casual, it was the result of every small step before it. Every laugh, every quiet pause, every message sent past midnight. You stepped a little closer, still pretending nothing had changed. Your voice lower now. Do you ever think about the moment when something becomes real? I didn't answer right away, because sometimes the most honest response is silence. The city kept moving, cars passing, lights shifting, music drifting from somewhere far away. But inside that quiet space between us, the world had slowed. I realized love rarely begins with a declaration, it begins with recognition. Two people standing close enough to feel that something is already happening, even if the words are still waiting. You said my name again, the sound might reveal too much, and suddenly everything felt clear. This night wasn't ordinary, it was a moment before the story finally starts. Maybe tomorrow we'll laugh about this war. Maybe next week we'll pretend it didn't mean anything. But right now, standing under the quiet lights of the city, I know every step we took tonight moved us closer to something neither of us is pretending not to feel. And even if the words don't arrive tonight, of the city, I know every step we took tonight moved us closer to something neither of us is pretending not to feel. And even if the words don't arrive tonight, the truth is already here. Walking beside me, step by step, through the quiet streets of this midnight. Of this midnight moment. Sometimes the heart speaks first, before logic, before caution, before words. It happens quietly, a rhythm inside your chest that changes the moment someone arrives. I remember the first time I noticed it, not the first time I saw you, but the first time I felt that strange shift. We were standing in a crowded room, music too loud, people moving in every direction, but somehow your voice reached me through everything low, calm, almost playful. You said something simple, a joke about the music, and I laughed, not because it was funny, but because the moment felt easy. The kind of easy you rarely find with someone new. After that night you kept appearing, not intentionally, just naturally. Messages late in the evening, random conversations, small things, but every time my heartbeat changed just slightly, like it recognized some before my mind did. Friends ask, why do you look so distracted? I said I'm just tired, but the truth was different. I was thinking about you more often than I expected. The way you laugh, the way you pause before answering, the way your voice softens when you say my name. Those details stay long after the moment ended. The night everything shifted, we were walking, the city calm, street lights stretching down the road, the air cool, you were telling a story, something ordinary. But halfway through the sentence you stopped, looking at me carefully like you were reading a thought I hadn't spoken. Suddenly the silence between us felt different, not awkward, not uncertain, just full like music, waiting for the beat. My heart started moving faster, not fear, just awareness, because in that moment I understood this feeling was real, not something imagined, not something temporary. It had been growing through every message, every late conversation, every small moment where we noticed each other without saying it. As you step close, just slightly, your voice slowing out, less playful, more honest. Then you asked, do you ever feel like something is happening before anyone admits it? I smiled because the answer was obvious, the truth was already here. Every glance, every pause, second between us was proof. But love has a strange habit of waiting for courage, so we stood there both knowing but pretending not to know, listening to the quiet rhythm inside our chests. And I realized some feelings don't begin with a confession, they begin with a heartbeat that refuses to stay calm. Whenever someone you didn't expect becomes the most important person in the room, and maybe we'll say it soon, maybe tomorrow, maybe tonight. But even now, standing here without the words, the truth is already clear, because my heart started speaking long before my voice did. Oh yeah. It started as nothing, at least that's what we both pretended. Just two people talking, just two strangers sharing time. Just another night, but something about the way you looked at me made the moment feel heavier, like the air between us had something to say. The room was loud, music bouncing off the walls, people moving too fast, laughing, shouting, living their own small stories. But somehow everything around us felt distant, because your voice cut through the noise, low concern. You asked me something simple, what kind of music do you listen to when nobody else is around? I laughed because that question wasn't casual, it was the kind that opens doors. So I told you about late nights, about songs that feel honest, about the way music changes when you're alone. You listen, not politely but carefully, like every word had weight. And that's when I noticed the way your eyes stayed just a little longer than necessary. After that night things changed, after that night things changed. Slowly, quietly, messages started appearing late, conversations stretching longer, songs being shared, small jokes, unexpected honesty. Somewhere between those moments, you stopped feeling like a stranger, you started feeling important. The night, everything shifted, we were walking, no destination, just a quiet movement of the city. Street lights glowing, the sky dark but soft, the kind of night where people tell the truth. You were talking about something random, work, stress, things that usually don't matter. But suddenly you stopped looking at me carefully, like you were deciding whether to cross a line. Then you asked, have you ever felt something growing before anyone said it out loud? I smiled because the answer was obvious, but I didn't say it right away. Sometimes the moment before the truth is the most beautiful part. sent, every small glance we shared made sense. Because the truth had been here the whole time, we just hadn't said it. You looked at me again, waiting, maybe hoping, maybe nervous. But the strange thing about feelings like this is that they stop being scary the moment you realize you're not the only one. So I stepped closer, just enough to answer without speaking. The city kept moving, cars passing, lights changing, music drifting from distant bars. But for a moment, everything slowed, and in that moment, love stopped being a question. It became a quiet confession, waiting for either one of us to finally say it. Sometimes love doesn't begin quietly, sometimes it arrives with confidence. I remember the night before anything was said, music playing too loud, people talking too fast, lights moving across the room. But somehow the only thing I could hear was you, your voice cutting through all the noise like it belonged to its own rhythm. You said my name like it was already familiar, like you've been saying it for years, and suddenly everything felt different. The truth is I noticed you long before you noticed me, across crowded rooms, across conversations that barely touched, across moments where our eyes met for half a second then moved away. But that night, something changed. Maybe it was the way you smiled like you had a secret. Maybe it was the way you stood closer than before. Or maybe it was the way the music dropped right when you leaned toward me and said, you look like you already know what I'm thinking. I laughed, but you weren't wrong, because love sometimes begins before the words, before the moment anyone admits it. I had already imagined what your voice would sound like when it softened, what your laugh would sound like when it stayed, what it would feel like if we stopped pretending this was nothing. You asked, what are you thinking right now? I said nothing important, but the truth was louder than the music. I was thinking, if you asked me right now, if you looked at me and said, tell me honestly, I wouldn't lie, because something between us was already moving. The strange thing about moments like this is that everyone else keeps living their own night while it starts changing. You move close and not dramatically, just enough that I could hear you breathing between the beats. Your hand brushed mine accidentally, or maybe not. The room kept spinning, people laughing, glasses clinking, music rising. But for a second everything slowed, and in that second I realized this feeling wasn't new. It had been growing through every glance, every small joke, every moment we noticed each other without saying it. Maybe you felt it too, because when you looked at me again, there was no hesitation, just curiosity, like you were asking without speaking. So I leaned closer, just enough to answer before the question even formed. And suddenly the music dropped, the beat returned, the room exploded with sound. But somehow your voice was still the only thing I could hear. You said, tell me something real, and I smiled, because for once the truth didn't feel difficult, it felt easy, like the words had already been waiting for this moment. So maybe you'll say it first, maybe I will, maybe the night will stretch just a little longer before anyone admits it. But one thing is already clear, this, whatever this is not an accident, it's not coincidence, it's not just a moment, it's the beginning of something neither of us is pretending not to feel. There are moments before something begins where everything already feels different. Working around people long enough, you loses itself. It grows quietly in the space between conversations. The first time we spent an entire evening talking. Time moves strangely, minutes stretching, hours disappearing. We spoke about ordinary things, music, childhood memories, places we wanted to visit someday. But the feeling between us wasn't ordinary. The way you listened carefully, like every word I said mattered, made the moment feel heavier, like something invisible had entered the room. At first I ignored it, because emotions that grow quietly are easy to pretend don't exist. But days passed and somehow you kept appearing in my thoughts, during quiet mornings, during late walks, during songs that suddenly felt personal. Friends started asking, what's going on with you lately? I laughed, pretending I didn't understand, but I did, because every time you smiled, something inside me shifted. Not dramatically, just slightly, like gravity pulling something closer. The night we walked together after everything had closed, the city half asleep, streetlights glowing soft across the road. The air cool, the sky deep blue. You were talking about something simple, a story from work, something funny that happened earlier. But I wasn't really listening, not to the words, I was listening to your voice. How it slowed when you spoke my name, how it softened when you laughed, how it stayed even after you stopped speaking. At one point you stopped walking, looking out over the quiet city, light stretching far into the distance. Then slowly you turned toward me, and the silence between us changed. Not awkward, not uncertain, just full, like a moment waiting. My heartbeat shifting, not fear, just awareness. Because suddenly I understood this feeling was already real. Not something I was imagining, not something that would disappear. Every conversation, every late message, every time you stayed just a little longer, had been building this moment. Maybe you haven't said it yet, maybe the words are still forming, somewhere between hesitation and courage. But love doesn't always need a declaration. Sometimes it exists in the way two people look at each other when no one else is watching. Every time your eyes meet mine, every quiet smile, every moment the world feels slower. When we're together, the same truth returns, soft, clear, unavoidable. And now standing beside you under the quiet lights of the city, I realize we are already closer than the words either of us are ready to say. Because sometimes the beginning of love happens before we ever speak it, before the question, before the answer, before the moment when someone finally says what both hearts have known all along. Some nights feel ordinary. At first, just another evening, another conversation, another walk through streets you've both seen 100 times. But sometimes, somewhere between the first step and the last train, a quiet realization begins to form. That night started slowly, a cafe still open, lights warm, music low. You sat across from me, stirring a cup you barely drank, talking about something random, a film, a song, a memory from years ago. But the strange thing was the way you looked at me between sentences, like you were studying a moment, trying to understand why it felt like this before. Many times, late evenings, long conversations, laughing, arguing, telling stories about everything. But that night, the silence between words felt deeper, like something was growing inside the quiet outside. The city moved, cars passing, street lights glowing, people walking home, but inside that small cafe, time felt slower. You lean back, watching the ceiling lights, then look back at me, your voice slower, more thoughtful. Do you ever wonder when something actually begins? I asked, what do you mean? You smiled, that quiet smile, the one that appears right before you say something honest, like maybe something important started weeks ago, and we're only noticing now. I didn't answer because suddenly every moment, every walk, every message, every glance we had shared started rearranging itself into a story that had already begun. Love is rarely said and it grows quietly between conversations, between laughter, between the seconds when two people realize they keep finding their way back to each other. We left the cafe, the air cooler, the streets calmer, the night stretching ahead. We walked slowly, not because we were tired, only because the moment felt fragile, like something new was beginning. And neither of us wanted to rush. You stopped near the corner, looking down the empty street. Then you said softly, almost to yourself, I think I know when it started. I asked when, you looked at me, I steady voice calm. Before either of us noticed, we were already there. The city lights flickered across the pavement, a distant car, a quiet breeze. But suddenly everything felt clear, not dramatic, not overwhelming, just certain, like the ending of a story that was always meant to arrive here. And standing there under the quiet street, I realized confession, not loud ones, not dramatic, just quiet moments where the truth stands close, waiting for someone to say it first. That evening felt like that. We were walking without direction down streets we both knew but rarely visited. This late, the city had softened, shops closed, traffic light, the sound of distant cars moving slowly through the night. You were telling another story, something about a friend who fell in love unexpectedly. I listened, but something in your voice made the story feel different, like it wasn't really about them. Sometimes people tell stories when they are actually talking about themselves. We stopped at a crossing, waiting. The signal still red, the street empty. You looked up at the lights and laughed. Funny how people always say love happens. Suddenly your voice half joking but thoughtful. I asked, do you think it does? And you shrugged and looked at me carefully. Maybe it happens slowly, then one night people finally notice it. Maybe it happens slowly, then one night people finally notice it. The light changed, but neither of us moved because the moment had already shifted. Every late message, every walk, every small pause between sentences had been building this quiet space between us. You stepped closer, not dramatically, just enough that I could hear your breath between words. The city's still moving around us, but inside that moment everything felt slower. You said my name soft, careful like the sound might reveal too much. Then you stopped halfway through the sentence, like your thoughts had reached a place you weren't ready to show. I waited because sometimes the silence matters more than the words. You smiled, looking down at the pavement, then shook your head. finally notice it. It happens slowly, then one night people finally notice it. You said my name soft, careful like the sound might reveal too much. Then you stop halfway through the sentence, like your thoughts had reached a place you weren't ready to show. I waited because sometimes the silence matters more than the words. You smiled, looking down at the pavement, then shook your head. Never mind, but the strange thing was that we both knew what the sentence would have been. Love sometimes appears not in confessions, but in the moment right before, when two people realize they already know the answer. We started walking again. No hurry, the night still stretching ahead. Street lights glowing across quiet roads. You looked at the sky, then back at me. Suddenly the silence didn't feel uncertain. It felt like a promise, because sometimes the most honest moment is the one where two people almost say everything, but decide to let the night hold the secret just a little longer. Some conversations only happen after midnight, not because people plan them, but because the night removes distractions. That night we were standing on the corner waiting for a taxi. The streets almost empty, street lights glowing over quiet roads. The city's still breathing, but softer. You checked your phone, then laughed. Every taxi is busy tonight. Your voice calm, like you weren't in a hurry. I shrugged, because neither was I. Sometimes the space between plans is where the real moment appears. We kept talking about small things, a new song, a restaurant you wanted to try, a random story about work, but every now and then you would stop, looking at me like you were about to say something, then changing your mind. I noticed, of course you always think I don't, but I do. The silence between our sentences was different, not uncomfortable, just full like a question. Waiting a taxi pass slow, lights sliding across the pavement, but it didn't stop. You watched it disappear, then said, do you ever notice how strange time is? Do you ever notice how strange time is? I laughed because that question had been living in my thoughts for weeks. Sometimes two people meet at the wrong time. Sometimes they miss each other completely, but sometimes they arrive at the exact moment. The story is ready, you step closer, not dramatically, just enough that the distance between us felt smaller. Your voice lower now, maybe we're in one of those moments. You said not asking, just noticing. The city kept moving, a distant car, flicker of neon light music drifting from somewhere down the street. But inside that quiet space between us, everything had slowed, my heartbeat shifted. Not fear, just recognition, because suddenly every late message, every long walk, every small moment we stayed just a little longer had been building this night. You said my name soft, careful like the sound you said might reveal too much. Then you laughed, shaking your head. Maybe I'm thinking too much, but the truth was obvious. Sometimes people don't overthink, they just finally notice. I looked at the road and back at you, because the answer didn't feel complicated. Two people standing on the same street at the same hour, waiting not really for a taxi, but for courage. The city lights flickered, another car approached, and suddenly the moment felt clear. This night wasn't about getting home, it was about finally realizing why we kept ending up in the same place at the same time. So we kept standing there under the quiet street lights, letting the taxis pass. Because sometimes the most important journey doesn't begin when the ride arrives, it begins while two people are still deciding whether they're ready to go in the same direction. In the same direction. The strange thing about sudden nights is how quickly they change. One moment you're talking about nothing, the next a single sentence changes everything. We were sitting outside a small bar, the music inside still loud but distant. The street quiet, street lights glowing over empty pavement. You were telling a story, something funny about your friend. I was laughing, but halfway through the moment something shifted. The way you looked at me was different. Not playful, not casual, just curious. Like you had finally noticed something you had been avoiding. Then you said it, not dramatically, just casually, like it was another joke. You know, if we met a year earlier, this probably would have happened sooner. I laughed because the line sounded harmless, but something inside it was honest. The silence that followed was different, not awkward, just full like a room waiting for someone to say what everyone already knows. I looked at the street trying to slow my thoughts, because suddenly every moment before this made sense. Every late message, every quiet walk, every time our eyes met across the room and been building something we just hadn't admitted. Love rarely begins with fireworks. Sometimes it begins with a sentence that sounds casual but carries too much truth. You lean back looking up at the dark sky like you were thinking about what you had said. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Your voice half joking, half serious, but the strange thing was that I was glad you did, because sometimes the truth needs to slip out unexpectedly before either person has time to stop it. I look back at you, your expression different now. A little nervous, but curious, like you were waiting to see if the moment had gone too far. I smiled because the answer was obvious. Every conversation, every message, every quiet moment had already brought us here. The city kept moving, cars passing, lights flickering across buildings, music drifting through open doors. But the silence between us felt stronger than everything around us. You said my name, but soft, careful like the sound might reveal too much. And in that moment I understood, some stories don't begin with grand confessions. They begin one line said too honestly on an ordinary night, when two people finally realize they've been walking toward the same moment for a long time. And even though neither of us said the words, the truth was already there, sitting quietly between us, waiting for the night. We didn't believe, stop pretending we don't understand what that one line actually did. There is a moment after the music ends, when the room doesn't know what to do. People laugh, glasses touch, conversations restart, but the energy has already shifted. That night felt like that, a party slowly dissolving. Friends saying goodbye, doors opening, cold air entering the room. The music finally stopped, but somehow the night wasn't finished. You were standing near the window, looking outside at the quiet street, lights reflecting across wet pavement. I walked over, not because I had something to say, but because Standing anywhere else suddenly felt wrong. You notice, of course, you always notice small things, the way people move, the way silence changes shape. You smile, that quiet smile, the one that usually appears right before you say something honest. Funny how nights never end the way we expect. Your voice slower now, calmer, like the conversation was finally reaching the part that mattered. I nodded because the truth was obvious. The night had already changed, not when the music started, not when the room filled with people, but later in small moments, in quiet pauses, in the way we kept finding each other. Across the room, every conversation we had been building something without asking, without explaining. The party slowly empty, the lights dim, music gone, just the quiet of a city late at night. You lean against the window, watching headlights move down the street. Then you turn toward me, carefully, like you were choosing the moment. Do you ever feel like something has been happening for a long time before you finally see it clearly? I laughed softly because the answer was standing right there. Every late message, every conversation that lasted too long, every moment we stayed just a little longer. I've been leading here, you step closer, not dramatically, just enough that the quiet between us felt different, alive. The city outside, it continued moving, cars passing, street lights glowing, a distant sound from somewhere down the road. But inside that moment, every car slowed. You looked at me, not searching, not uncertain, just calm, like you had finally accepted what this moment meant. I realized love doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it appears after the music ends, when the noise disappears, and two people finally notice the quiet that has been waiting between them all night. The room behind us empty now, the city breathing, the night still unfolding, and somehow standing there under the last light of the room, I understood this wasn't the end of the night. It was a pain when we said neither of us would ever call accidental. City after midnight feels like a secret, not empty, just quieter, like the world finally stopped talking so people can hear themselves. That night we ended up on a northbound line, almost by accident. The train doors closed and suddenly the city started sliding past the windows, lights moving like slow constellations. You sat across from me, your reflection in the glass mixing with the skyline. For a moment neither of us spoke, not awkward, just calm, the kind of silence that appears when two people are thinking about the same thing at the same time. You broke it first, funny how nights like this happen. Your voice, soft, the kind of tone people use when they're almost honest. I smiled because the truth was already there. Every conversation we'd had, every message that stretched past midnight, every random moment we noticed each other had been building. And as the train slowed at the next station, doors open, people stepped out, new faces stepped in, but somehow the space around us stayed quiet. You leaned back, watching the ceiling, lights flickered, then you looked straight at me carefully, like you were studying a moment before speaking. Do you ever think, you said slowly, that two people can feel something for a long time before they admit it? I laughed softly because the answer was obvious. Love doesn't begin when someone says it. It begins when two people start noticing how often their thoughts return to the same voice, the same laugh, the same name. The train started moving again, city outside shifting, station lights appearing then disappearing. You leaned forward slightly, your voice lower now. Sometimes I think we both know what this is. The way you said it wasn't dramatic, just certain, like a truth you'd already accepted. My heartbeat shifted, not panic, just recognition. Because suddenly every moment before this made sense. The small talks, the late walks, the way your voice changed when you said my name. You moved close closer, just enough that the quiet between us felt alive. The train kept moving, still against rails, a steady rhythm like a heartbeat carrying us through the city. I realized some stories don't start with perfect timing. They start in ordinary places, a train seat, a quiet street, a late conversation where two people finally notice what's been there all along. The train slowed again, another station, another open door, but neither of us moved, because suddenly destination didn't matter. What mattered was this moment where the distance between us finally felt small enough to disappear. And somewhere between those passing lights, I understood the city had been moving all night just to bring us to this quiet moment where two people finally stop pretending they don't know what their hearts have known for a long time. Some nights stretch longer than they should, like time is trying to give you another chance. That night felt like that the last train had already passed. The station lights still glowing, but the platform empty. We stood there, not because we had somewhere to go, but because neither of us wanted the night to end. You leaned against the railing, watching the tracks like something might appear from the distance. I stood beside you, listening to the quiet. The city felt different after midnight, slower, calmer, honest. Cars passed occasionally, the headlights sliding across the pavement, but mostly the night belonged to silence. You laughed softly, breaking it. I guess we missed it. Your voice light, but thoughtful, like you weren't talking about the train. I smiled because the same thought had crossed my mind. Sometimes people miss moments because they're afraid to step forward, but sometimes they stay because the moment hasn't arrived yet. We started walking again along the empty street lights stretching ahead like quiet signals guiding the road. You were telling another story, something funny about work, but halfway through the sentence you stopped looking at me carefully, like you were trying to decide if this was the moment. The silence between us was different, not awkward, not uncertain, just full like a question waiting. My heartbeat shifted, not panic, just awareness, because suddenly everything felt clear. Every late message, every small laugh, every quiet look had been building this night. You said my name soft, slower than usual, the way someone says a word when they know it means more than it used to. Then you asked her, do you ever think about how strange time is? I nodded, cause timing is what creates moments out of ordinary nights. Two people in the same city, on the same street after the same train has already left. You step closer, not dramatically, just enough that the space between us changed. The city kept breathing, a distant car, flicker of light, music drifting from somewhere far away. But inside that quiet moment, the world felt paused. You looked at me like you were finally ready to say something that had been waiting for weeks, maybe months. But instead, you smiled, that quiet smile, the one that appears right before someone admits the truth. And I realized some stories don't begin with perfect timing, they begin after the last train, when two people are still standing on the platform, because leaving suddenly feels impossible. So we kept walking down the empty street, the city slowly breathing around. This night wasn't what's bad. Sometimes the story doesn't begin with the right words, and sometimes the words arrive later the night we almost said it. Started quietly, a small bar on the edge of the city. Music low, lights warm, the kind of place people go when they want time to slow down. You were already there, sitting near the window, watching the street. When I walked in, you smiled, the same smile, the one that always makes the room feel lighter. We talked about everything and nothing, music, travel, strange stories from work, small things, but underneath every sentence another conversation was happening, the one we hadn't spoken yet. Your voice lower tonight, calmer, like you were thinking carefully about something you hadn't decided to say. After a while the place closed, so we stepped outside. The air cool, the streets quiet, street lights spilling pale light across empty roads. We walk without deciding where the city half asleep, windows glowing like distant stars. And suddenly you stopped, looking up at the skyline, like the buildings might answer something. I waited cause moments like this don't like being rushed. You turned toward me, your expression different, less playful, more honest. Can I ask you something real? Your voice sounds careful, like the question might change the night. I nodded because I already knew what it would be. You asked, do you think two people can know what's happening before they ever say it? I laughed, not loudly, just enough to break the silence, because the answer was obvious. Every message, every late night conversation, every small look we shared had been building this moment. Love doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it grows quietly between two people, until suddenly realize the distance between them has disappeared. You step closer, not dramatically, just enough that the quiet between us felt alive. The city kept moving, cars passing, traffic lights changing, music drifting from somewhere down the street, but standing there under the soft glow of the street lights. Every veil paused, your voice lower now, almost a whisper, maybe we're already there, you said. And suddenly every moment before this made sense. Every laugh, every message we quiet paused had been leading here, but strangely neither of us said the words, because sometimes the moment before confession is the most honest part, the part where two hearts already ain't without speaking. So we stayed there, standing close, listening to the quiet rhythm of the city and the steady beat inside our chest, knowing that when the words finally arrive, they won't be a surprise, cause the truth has already been living inside this moment all along, waiting for the night when someone finally says what both of us have known from the beginning. The city never really falls asleep, it just grows quieter, like it's listening. That night felt like that, a slow moment between noise and silence. We met without planning, just a message, are you still awake? I was, you were, and somehow that was enough. The streets were almost empty, street lights stretching across long roads, shops closed, windows dark, but the city still breathing. We walked, no destination, just following whatever direction felt right. You were talking about random things, a song you heard earlier, a place you wanted to visit, something funny your friend said, but the way you kept looking at me made it clear your mind was somewhere else. Then you asked, do you ever think about how strange timing is? I laughed because that question was exactly what I had been thinking. Somehow, out of millions of nights, out of millions of people, two lives end up walking down the same street at the same time. The wind moved through the buildings, cool, soft, the kind of air that makes the night feel longer. You stopped at the corner, watching a taxi pass slowly. Then you turned toward me, your voice lower, more careful. Something feels different tonight. You said not asking, just noticing the silence between us wasn't empty. It was full of something unspoken, my heartbeat shifted. Not fear, just awareness, because suddenly the distance between us felt fragile, like one step could change everything. You moved closer, not dramatically, just enough that I could hear you breathing. Between words, the city kept moving, cars passing, Lights changing, music drifting from somewhere far away, but standing there under the quiet street light, the world felt paused. You smiled, the same quiet smile, the one that always appears when you stop pretending. Then you said, I think we both know what this moment is. Your voice calm, certain, like you had already accepted what was happening. I looked at the street trying to slow my thoughts, because the truth was obvious. Every conversation, every message, every small moment we shared had been moving toward this love. Doesn't always arrive suddenly. Sometimes it grows slowly, through late nights, through quiet walks, through small questions. Two people begin noticing that something has been building all along. You looked at me again like you were waiting for confirmation, but the truth didn't need words, not yet. Because standing there under the soft glow of the city lights, we both understood something had already started. And even though neither of us had said it, the night had already changed. The city kept moving, the streets kept breathing, and somewhere between those lights, two people finally realized they weren't just walking through the same city, they were walking toward the same story. I think we both know. Before this night, before the music, before the room filled with voices, before anyone even asked, sometimes the ending of a story starts at the beginning. That night began strangely, because the moment we saw each other, we both laughed like we had skipped the small talk and jumped straight to something real. The music was louder than usual, people moving through the room, glasses clinking, conversations overlapping, but somehow none of it mattered, because the way you looked at me already answered a question I hadn't asked. You said, you look like you already know what tonight is about. I smile because maybe I did not exactly, but enough to feel that something had already begun. The strange thing about love is that it rarely arrives when people expect it. It builds through small moments, through glances, through late messages, through quiet jokes that nobody else understands, until suddenly two people stand across from each other and realize it. They've been walking toward the same place without noticing. You lean close and not dramatically, just enough that your voice cut through the noise. Tell me something honest. You said, and the way you said it was different, not playful, not casual, just real. I thought for a second, because honesty is easier to think about than to speak. Then I laughed and said, I think we're already too close to pretend this is nothing. You paused, watching me like you were studying whether the moment was safe. Then you smiled, that quiet smile, the one that appears when someone finally stops pretending. The music shifted, the beat dropped, the room started moving, but the world between us stayed still. We talked about everything and nothing, about songs, about dreams, about places we wanted to escape. But beneath every sentence, another conversation kept happening, the one neither of us had fully said. Later we stepped outside, the night air, cool street lights glowing softly above empty roads. The city quieter now. You stood beside me, close, not touching but close enough that the silence between us felt alive. You looked at the skyline, then back at me, your voice lower now. Do you ever feel like something has already started before anyone says it? I nodded because the truth had been obvious for a long time. Every conversation, every laugh, every late night message had been built in this moment. Love doesn't always arrive with a confession. Sometimes it begins with a recognition. Two people standing close enough to feel that something is already real. Even before the words appear, you look at me again, the quiet stretching like the night was waiting. The story feels different is because we didn't with uncertainty. We started with the chorus, the moment where everything already makes sense. And now, standing here under the quiet lights of the city, I know whatever happens next isn't surprising, because our hearts have already heard the song.